celebrate selfless giving. This is the generosity we find among people who get involved in their community with the sole purpose of helping others and seeing smiles on their faces. And when we think of generosity, we think of Santa Claus. And I know a Santa Claus, a good and generous man who I'm extremely proud of, who got involved wherever he went, from the Lower St. Lawrence to the North Shore to the Eastern Townships, with a few detours in Alberta and Africa. My father is Santa Claus. Colleagues, I may be no gift, but my father is. Let's each in our own way, like my father, be generous every day and only wish well for others. Happy holidays to everyone. I love you, Dad. The Honourable Member for Sherbrooke. Mr. Speaker, last Saturday I had the opportunity to take part in the Sherbrooke Firefighters Toy Drive. Since 1940, they've been distributing new toys every December to more than 1,200 underprivileged kids in the region, or around 800 families. I'd like to thank our firefighters for continuing this wonderful tradition. Over this holiday season, many Sherbrooke families are going through tough times. I'd like to thank all the organizations in our community that are providing a lifeline to our families, including those that provide food. And our government will continue to support our families and these organizations. I guess you could say 2022 has been a roller coaster ride. Many this holiday season will connect with loved ones and re-energize for the new year. Happy holidays and Happy New Year 2023 to all Sherbrooke residents. May 2023 bring you health and peace. Take good care of yourselves.
River Neepawa.
Mr. It's an honor for me to stand in Canada's Parliament and congratulate Dr. Bituk Malik on being named one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women by the Women's Executive Network. Dr. Malik specializes in diagnostic radiology at Manitoba's Dauphin Regional Health Centre and has dedicated her professional career to helping those in her community and across Canada. She has worked to advance medical imaging, helped shape the evolution of stroke and trauma assessment, and mentored many medical professionals who hope to follow in her footsteps. The rural Canadians who proudly call the Parkland region their home are truly honored to have the world-class physician in their community. On behalf of all Canadians, I want to thank Dr. Malik for her contributions to her patients, to her community, and to medicine all across Canada. Congratulations on a well-deserved award.
L'honorable député de Yukon.
The Honourable Member for Yukon.
Strange things done in the midnight sun by the folks who moil for gold, but the Arctic trails and the winter tales will make you long for the cold. The northern lights are beautiful sights for anyone to see. For a night on the marge of Lake Labarge in the Yukon is the place to be. Now, whether you come from Calgary to kick sled or flirt in the snows, or leave home in the south to roam up and air north, God only knows. Embrace the cold, and the land of gold will hold you like a spell. And then you will say, in your homely way, that you have never lived so well. On a Christmas day, you can mush your way over the Dawson Trail, lose a toe on the way, that's okay. It can go in the next cocktail. Ring in the new year in Beaver Creek, Old Crow, or Watson Lake. Wherever you go, you will surely know many sights that will memories make. There are strange things done in the winter's night by all who would be bold. On Arctic trails amid moonlit spruce, you will ski, sled, or look out for moose. The northern lights are an incredible sight for all of you to see. Now I welcome you all to the land that I love. Happy holidays all from me.
L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for Sudbury.
My community of
It's easy.
Sudbury. The mission provides 2 meals a day, breakfast and dinner, 365 days a year. Over the past year, the number of meals has grown by 1,000 per month, with 90,000 meals being served yearly, as well as clothing, showers, and laundry facilities. The mission is a necessity for our community. It is a safe refuge in times of need for the people of Sudbury. Throughout the month of December, businesses and organizations from the community will be helping to serve meals to clients while raising important funds to ensure the mission is equipped for food and essentials throughout the year. Mr. Speaker, I want to highlight the important work being done by the Elgin Street Mission and the incredible team of volunteers. Without their dedication, the mission could not operate and support our community.
The honourable member for Calgary Shepherd.
I rise today to congratulate Véronique Brunel from Calgary Shepherd as the recipient of the 2022 Prime Minister's Award for Teaching Excellence in STEM. Véronique teaches at William Aberhart High School and has worked as a French immersion math teacher for grades 10, 11, and 12. Véronique is committed to innovation and her unique teaching style. It's not uncommon to see students writing on whiteboards, on the walls, and even on windows. Students are challenged, and she has worked hard to inspire and encourage her students in their university aspirations. Her encouragement has led to students joining the Wisest program at the University of Alberta that places high school young women in research labs, providing teens with an opportunity to work on campus in a science or engineering related field. Congratulations again, Véronique. Your students, your teaching colleagues, and parliamentarians are proud of you. Félicitations, Véronique. Tes étudiants.
Congratulations, Véronique. Your students and your member of parliament are proud of you.
The honourable member for York Centre.
Mr. Speaker, this Sunday will mark the first night of Hanukkah. In my riding of York Centre and homes across Canada and around the world, millions of Jewish families will light the Chanukiah and celebrate the Festival of Lights. The light of the Chanukiah is a symbol of peace and life. As we add candles each night, peace and hope grow stronger and brighter. It is always light that triumphs over darkness. This year we have lost one of those lights as we mourn the loss of our friend and colleague, Jim Carr, who was a model of kindness, compassion, and selflessness in this House and for all Canadians. Jim's advice was always given with a love of life and country, a twinkle in his eye, a laugh, and a smile. He was the eldest and wisest member of our Jewish and Jewish Muslim caucuses, and I can only hope that in the time we were privileged to share with him, a bit of that wisdom has passed on to us. His love and pride of his heritage and of the prairie and the communities that he was a part of were a source of strength for so many. As we prepare to celebrate Hanukkah, may Jim's family find strength and comfort from his light and the legacy he held in this House, in Winnipeg South Centre, and across Canada. May his memory be a blessing. Yehi zichro baruch.
The honourable member for Calgary Confederation.
Mr. Speaker, the building of coal plants in China and the war in Ukraine show Canada has a greater role to play in the global energy market. If we better supply the world with energy, oil, gas, and LNG, then dictators from oil-rich countries will not be able to fund their wars. If we better supply the world with our environmentally responsible energy products, then we can provide better alternatives to the resurgence of coal in China. If we better supply the world with our Canadian LNG, we can help make real progress on lowering emissions by providing a cleaner alternative to coal. If we better supply the world with Canadian energy, we create jobs in Canada. We can build better communities in Canada, and we can do our part for the environment and for social and for global security. We have the product, we have the people, we have the skills and knowledge. What we don't have is a government to champion Canadian energy.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, the carbon tax is by liberal design an inflationary mechanism to drive consumer change. It has the stated goal of making Canadians pay more. Not only does it add directly to the costs of Canadians' bills, but the carbon tax adds to the cost of every step of the supply chain. Take a loaf of bread, for example. You pay the carbon tax on the inputs to grow the grain, then again to harvest the grain. You pay it on transportation and then to heat and store the grain. Then pay for it on the equipment to process that wheat into flour, bake it into bread, transport it to the warehouse, and then to the store. Every step of the process adds costs that then Canadians have to pay for. And then it gets progressively worse as with planned tax hikes. With costs rising, record food bank usage, and the essentials becoming unaffordable. It's time that this out-of-touch Prime Minister and the left-leaning ideologues that keep him in power put their ideology aside and join with Conservatives to finally axe the carbon tax.
The honourable member for Mount Royal.
Mr. Speaker, 'tis the last sitting week before Christmas. And one thing unites the nation. We all heartily dislike the scourge of inflation. It's been quite the year. Whoever thought we would see our very own Prime Minister singing Bohemian Rhapsody? A different queen passed away, leading to great lamentation. But her death was quickly followed by Pierre's coronation. The previous leader moved on with barely a ripple, and now Conservatives can unite behind triple, triple, triple. Pour Noël, le Bloc.
The Bloc's asking Santa for only one thing. They really don't want to take an oath to the king.
I joined the NDP as it wishes to change our laws to get rid of the preemptive use of the notwithstanding clause. And as for the Greens, their leadership has created quite the fuss because their very own Liz has lasted 1,000 times longer than Truss. With Hanukkah, Christmas, and festive times about to occur, I wish all my colleagues and Canadians a happy and healthy new year.
The honourable member for Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, we have a duty to take bold action to address the climate crisis, build a strong economy, while creating a work environment that allows women to thrive and close the gender wage gap. By embracing just transition, we can create the green energy jobs of the future and attract more women into the skilled trades.
We can lift women and their families out of poverty, providing them with training and sustainable job opportunities currently not offered in our traditional natural resources sector. This work must start now. Just transition legislation should focus on delivering a credible plan for clean energy jobs, provide training programs for women in the industry, and create affordable childcare spaces that responds to the reality of shift work. Organizations such as the Alberta Federation of Labour have been clear that just transition legislation can no longer be delayed. Canadians know that we need to deal with climate change, and we must do all that we can to ensure that women are at the forefront of this new energy economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. If I understood correctly, Mr. Speaker, this will be our last sitting of 2022, and if you don't mind, some fresh air would do everyone some good. But meanwhile, not much has been settled. There's been a lot of theatrics, but not that much sincerity. I have the duty and the wish to tell people to take care of themselves. The healthcare system is no place to celebrate the holidays, and desperate people are crossing the border at Roxham Road. The French language is in jeopardy, and that's no gift to offer anyone. But if sleeping on it helps, let's take a few nights off. And I wish all my colleagues here in the House a very Merry Christmas. Yes, Christmas. And happy 2023. And the last word is for you and the staff of Parliament, from the kitchen to the pages, from security to you yourself. Your patience and your smiles remind us that we are there for the good of everyone. So to everyone and to Quebecers, happy holidays.
The honourable member for Lanark, Frontenac, and Kingston.
'Tis just before Christmas, and 'tis both strange and true, that our home's Yule colors will be yellow and blue. That's not red, green, and white, so let me explain that our house is home to 6 guests from Ukraine. It was back in the spring that from Dnipro they flew, 2 parents, 3 children, and a babushka too. Our hometown of Perth is a welcoming place. You'll fit in regardless of language or race. Our guests live in our house. They've helped deck the halls, the kids making snowmen and throwing snowballs. But when those 3 kids nestle snug in their beds, it's visions of home that must dance in their heads. And how does a mum focus on the right gift to buy when back home the missiles still drop each day from the sky? And then there's Dad, who deserves admiration. He must balance his duties to family and nation. For exiles, no Christmas can truly be mellow. So our Christmas this year will be blue and yellow.
The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
As the son of immigrants, it is embedded in us to seize every opportunity to work hard, give back to our communities, and continue building a better Canada that works for everyone. A simple teaching that has become a beacon for many and a reason for the residents of Mississauga Lakeshore to elect a new MP, my dear friend, Charles Sousa. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we know that a prosperous future for all Canadians requires responsible leadership and targeted support. That is why we show up. Our Prime Minister was in Mississauga Lakeshore, unlike the Leader of the Opposition. Plain and simple, our government has been there for Canadians through every challenge by putting more money back in their pockets when they need it most. Our commitment is unwavering. This Christmas, families in Mississauga Lakeshore, Vaughan Woodbridge, and across the country will continue to receive direct support from the programs our government has put forward. Programs the people of Mississauga Lakeshore clearly support. To all Canadians, those residents in my wonderful riding of Vaughan Woodbridge, for a year, thank you, led by your generosity and compassion. Merry Christmas, Bon Natale, and Happy New Year.
Oral questions. Question orale. The honourable leader of the opposition.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to wish everyone happy holidays, happy Christmas. But for some, it will not be so happy because unfortunately, the cost of a Christmas dinner has gone up by 20% since last year. A Mississauga food bank said that some are visiting the food bank not just for food, but to try to get medical assistance in dying because they cannot pay their bills. How can the Prime Minister justify that money is being wasted when people can't even eat? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to join in with my colleagues to wish everyone happy holidays, but we know that for many people, these holidays will be difficult. With the increase in the cost of living linked to global inflation, things are very hard. That's why we've been there to invest in families. We doubled the GST credit. We are helping to pay for kids' dental care for those who previously didn't have access. We're also offering help to low-income renters. And we are also cutting the costs of childcare in half. We will continue to be there for Canadians this year and in the future. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Working. We wish everyone a Merry Christmas, but it won't be merry for a lot of people. 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals. There's a 20% increase in the cost of a turkey dinner for the average family. And one Ontario Food Bank CEO said, clients are telling us they're considering medically assisted dying or suicide because they can't live in grinding poverty anymore. This is after 7 years of this Prime Minister. He can promise whatever he wants, but these are the results he's actually delivered. How does he justify the $4.6 billion of waste when people cannot afford to eat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we know Canadians are facing difficult times, but we also know Canadians continue to step up for each other. But that's why this government has continued to move forward with direct supports for Canadians, whether it was doubling the GST credit for 6 months that gave hundreds of dollars more in the pockets of 11 million families, whether it was moving forward on rental supports and dental supports for low-income Canadians. These are things that the Conservative Party voted against, but we're delivering $1,300 over the next 2 years for families to help with bills on dental. We're delivering $500 on rental. We're going to continue to deliver for Canadians through this tough time.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
What he has delivered is a 40-year high in inflation, the fastest rising interest rates in Canadian history. 1 in 5 Canadians not able to afford food. And what for? Well, according to the Auditor General, there's $28 billion of suspicious spending and another $4.6 billion of outright waste. Money that is driving up the inflationary crisis that Canadians are paying for right now. He gave checks to dead people and prisoners, Mr. Speaker. When will he recover the $4.6 billion of wasted money the Auditor General identified?
Honorable Prime Minister.
Speaker, Canadians well remember that when we hit the challenge of the pandemic, we needed to be there for each other. And this government made the decision to move quickly to support Canadians, to support families, to support workers, to support seniors, to support youth, to move forward on supporting small businesses, not only so people could get through the pandemic and the health crisis that it was, but also so we could weather the economic storm that came with it. And that's exactly what we did, seeing our economy come back faster than most of our fellow economies around the world. We're going to continue to support Canadians and make those investments that keep a better future.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Except the money went, according to the Auditor General, 1,500 prisoners got the money. Dead people got the money. $660 million of the money is under criminal investigation, and $4.6 billion was wasted altogether. Now, Mr. Speaker, the question was very simple. On what date will this Prime Minister and his government recover the $4.6 billion of waste identified by the Auditor General? The date.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians, like the Canadians in Mississauga Lakeshore, recognize the rhetoric from the Leader of the Opposition for what it is, proposing cuts in Canadian pensions, proposing cuts for EIs, proposing to do less for Canadians who need it. They voted against supports to make sure that families could send their kids to the dentist this year and next. These are the kinds of things the Conservatives continue to propose in their cuts and austerity approach on this side of the aisle. We'll continue to be there to support Canadians who need it, because that's who we are as Canadians. We support each other.
The Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
This from a Prime Minister who's deliberately driving up home heating bills this winter. Home heating bills are expected to double right across the country. 40% of Atlantic Canadians live in energy poverty. Rural Canadians in Northern Ontario forced to heat with oil will have to pay more as well. And now the Liberal NDP plan is to raise prices further by tripling the carbon tax. Will the Prime Minister tell us exactly how much his carbon tax will cost the average Canadian family in higher home heating bills this winter?
The Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the carbon price in Atlantic Canada doesn't kick in until the spring, so it won't cost them any more this winter. If he had actually paid attention instead of sharing disinformation with Canadians, he would know that. The reality is we are delivering a price on pollution that not only makes sure we're protecting our future against climate change, but we're putting more money in the pockets of hardworking Canadians to support them through this transition. That's what our price on pollution does. That's what it will continue to do to support Canadians while we fight climate change.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, let's try to get into the holiday spirit. The Prime Minister received a generous invitation from the provincial premiers. A little bit like a family dinner. They might tell them about a sick aunt or uncle. They might tell him that it's expensive, and he might find the conversation boring, but he can't turn it down. Because in the holiday spirit, the Prime Minister should accept the invitation from Quebec and the provinces. Will he? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, in the history of our country, no Prime Minister has met with the provincial premiers regarding a health crisis as I have. I will continue to meet with them regularly. And I am looking forward to meeting with the Premier of Quebec in a couple of days to discuss Quebecers' concerns and to discuss how we will continue to work together. We know we need to improve our healthcare system, and the federal government will be there to support provinces while they make these improvements. We know that's important for families throughout the country. The honorable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, the Prime Minister seems to be mixing up a party and a one-on-one conversation. I'm sure he's too polite to make such a faux pas. There's a lot to be mentioned at this family dinner. There are cousins who are waiting on a stretcher in a corridor, an uncle who's waiting for a kidney transplant, someone's kid who has a respiratory virus, someone else who's facing a serious mental health crisis. The premiers want to talk about that at the family dinner. Does the Prime Minister really not want to meet them? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we know that Canadians need an improvement to our health system. Too many people don't have access to a GP. Too many people need to wait months or even years for a mental health appointment. And we know that people are still standing in line for extended periods of time. The federal government has invested $72 billion additional dollars in the health system over the years, and we will be there to invest more. But Quebecers and Canadians know that it takes more than money, it takes results, and that's what we're working on with the provinces.
Burnaby South.
We have a crisis in our healthcare system that is impacting children. Children are suffering. And the Prime Minister says that because of an impasse with the premiers, that he can't do anything. I want to remind the Prime Minister that he promised in the last election to hire 7,500 more nurses and doctors, a promise that if he kept, would absolutely help in dealing with this crisis. So my question is, did he mean what he said?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we've all heard from across the country how Canadians need access to family doctors, how Canadians need access to better mental health services quicker, how Canadians need to see shortened wait times and an end to surgery backlogs. And that is exactly what we are committed to. We have been working with the provinces. Our health minister has been directly engaged with his counterparts over the past many months to ensure that as we invest more in healthcare across this country, we're delivering results and outcomes that Canadians can count on. That's what Canadians want. That's what we're going to be delivering.
Honourable member for Burnaby South.
When I'm Prime Minister, I will keep my promises. Now, another promise, let me try again.
Order. Order.
Sixth, 1989. Thank you.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians once again are struck by an increase in interest rates imposed by the Bank of Canada, but caused by inflationist deficits from this government. Even the governor for the Bank of Canada stated that deficits increase inflation and therefore interest rates. For a family that bought an average house with an average mortgage, that represents $10,000 more every year in interest rates. The more the government spends, the more Canadians pay. When will the government finally stop spending so that the Canadians can save some more money? Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Canada is an independent arm's-length institution. Canadians are living through difficult times. Investments we have made for Canadians has caused inflation, some people say. Stephen Pullos, former governor, stated that our investments actually stopped deflation. This leader of the opposition has the opportunity to support Canadians over the next hour by approving C-32 in order to help people through the full economic statement.
Well, Canadians were hit with another interest rate uppercut today after inflationary deficits by this Liberal government are driving up inflation and interest rates. The governor of the Bank of Canada has even said these deficits are driving the higher costs. One mother told the CBC that she signed into a 1.9% mortgage variable rate because she believed the government that rates would be low for long. And now she says, I punch myself on that decision. Why did I listen to these people? Mr. Speaker, how is this mother going to pay the extra $1,000 a month in mortgage payments that they're putting on her back?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd be careful if I were the member opposite asking people who's listening to whose advice when his idea to hedge on inflation was to go buy crypto. Shame on that advice. Irresponsible, not appropriate. Mr. Speaker, we're going to eliminate interest on student loans and apprentice loans. We're going to make it more affordable to buy a house. We're going to get workers the money they need faster, Mr. Speaker. In 1 hour, the Conservative chorus can sing with us and support Canadians, or they can do what they've always done and voted against.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Yeah, we're singing from a very different song sheet than this inflationary government, Mr. Speaker. But you know who else is singing from a different song sheet? The Liberal MP for the Yukon. He's confirmed what Conservatives have been saying all along. He says, I'm not happy with this gun bill, and I'm not in a position to support this bill at this moment with those amendments in play. This is really upsetting. Many Yukoners regularly hunt, either as a source of food or for recreational aspects of hunting. Mr. Speaker, even their own backbench are getting the message. Canadians don't want to ban hunters, they want to stop criminals. Will the government get the message?
Here. The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, and we are doing precisely that, including some of the provisions within the project of law C-21, which will give additional tools to police, including raising maximum sentences to go after hardened gun traffickers, including $450 million to bolster the resources for CBSA to allow them to build on the record number of illegal gun seizures. Those were provisions that the Conservatives either voted against or filibustered. And if the Conservatives were serious about protecting our communities from gun violence, then they would reverse their position, support these measures so we can go after the criminals who've been terrorizing our communities for far too long with guns. Thank you.
Leader of the Opposition.
This Liberal government has granted a contract to a China-linked company to provide technology, anti-spying technology. But the issue is that the owner of this company is criminally accused of 21 different crimes in the United States of America linked to espionage itself. So how can the government possibly make the decision of hiring someone who is criminally accused of espionage in order to stop espionage in our police forces? The Honourable Minister for Public Services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are aware of the concerns with regards to the RCMP contract with Sinclair Technologies, and our government is studying this. This company has solid experience in the matter. It provides services based on requirements established by the different departments. We will take all measures necessary to protect our infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, that answer was encrypted with bureaucraties. Maybe that would be a better way to protect our internal communications. But instead, the government came up with a different plan. What they've done is they've given a contract to a company that's supposed to protect the RCMP from eavesdropping, and that company is owned by another company that's charged with 21 espionage offenses in the United States of America. How on God's green earth did this government think it was a good idea to give a company accused of espionage the control of our anti-espionage technology?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we put in place rigorous processes to screen for national security concerns when it comes to awarding contracts, Mr. Speaker, and I want to assure my colleague that we are looking very, very carefully at the way in which our independent public servants screen this particular contract. I share the member's concern. I think we can all agree that it's important to protect our national security, which is why we've cracked down on foreign funding, Mr. Speaker, which is why we struck two independent, nonpartisan panels to confirm the integrity of our democratic institutions, including our elections in 2019-21. What's the distinction? We did these things, the Conservatives did not.
The
honourable member for La Prairie.
Well, for the first half. I don't like the way this one's starting, so I'm going to ask you just kind of keep your comments down, please. The
honourable member for La Prairie. This is the story of a guy who listens to the radio in his car and hears on the news that a dangerous driver is driving in the opposite direction of traffic and shouts to his radio. There's not just one, there's at least 100, unable to realize that he himself is the dangerous driver. Now that's the story. And now the government of Canada is behaving exactly like him. Quebec, the provinces, and now medical associations are asking the federal government to increase health funding. When will the government start driving in the direction of traffic and increase transfers?
House Leader.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is essential to protect our healthcare system, and we are absolutely assured that we will continue to work on the matter. It is essential it's essential for us to protect our healthcare system, and that is the reason for which we continue to invest in our healthcare system. We will continue to do so every single day, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member for La Prairie. The physicians' associations are asking for an increase in federal health funding, and they haven't received one. This is a classic example, Mr. Speaker. We've been going through this for years. Ottawa says it is cooperating, but it is not true. There is absolutely no cooperation. Everyone knows that Quebec's healthcare system is underfunded by the federal government, but Ottawa is still withholding money. Everyone knows that Ottawa knows absolutely nothing about the healthcare system, but they still want to impose standards. Mr. Speaker, patients don't need pedagogues or teachers, they need caregivers. When will the government finally increase transfers? The Honourable Minister for Mental Health. Mr. Speaker, for a long time we have been working with provinces and territories, not only to provide funding, but also to make sure that there is a national vision for healthcare and systems that meet the needs of Canadians. Since the very beginning of the pandemic, our government has invested more than $72 billion over the pandemic in order to protect the healthcare of Canadians. We will increase Canada Health transfers by 10% in March 2023, on top of the 5% announced recently.
Or Burnaby South.
Bank of Canada announced another interest rate increase today, and it's going to mean a lot of pain for Canadian families. With the increase in interest rates, we know that many families are going to see an increase in their mortgage payments of over $1,000. $1,000 is not something that most Canadian families can afford to pay, in addition to their budgets that they're dealing with right now. So far, the approach to the inflation has been to put more and more pressure on the backs of Canadians. So when will this Prime Minister find a way to tackle the inflation that doesn't create pain for workers, that actually provides them the support and respect they need?
The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, as the Honourable Leader of the New Democratic Party knows, the Bank of Canada is an independent institution that has been tasked since December of last year to get inflation back down to 2%. Mr. Speaker, the bank is doing their job. We're doing our job, which making sure that we have the fiscal firepower to face what's going to come, but also, Mr. Speaker, to invest in Canadians, to support the Canadians who need it the most. That's why we're helping Canadians to buy a new home. We're advancing the payments for workers' benefits, and we're also making sure that student loan interest gets removed forever. Mr. Speaker, this is the right thing to do. It's the responsible thing to do. It's why we hope that all parties vote with us on C-32 today.
The Honourable Member for